News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Well, it's not going well for Kamala. There's several things going on. The polling has not been going in the right direction. It's been going in the wrong direction. As I was telling you, a revered pollster by the Democrats and both sides, actually, Nate Silver, his prediction is 0.04% with the trajectory of Kamala going down and the trajectory of Trump going up on the graph chart that goes day to day. That makes sense to me. Of course, that's nationwide. That's not swing states. We also see... let me share some highlights from my buddy Eric Erickson today that are very, very well written. The campaign of Kamala is sounding the alarm. She is trailing Trump among swing state voters on all of the issues voters care about the most. The economy, inflation, immigration, crime, and a historic number of black and Hispanic voters have moved in Trump's direction. Now, I will remind you of the polling that just came out that shows that this was from CNN. I played part of it for you on the air, and I read part of it for you. But look at this. Black voters, Kamala has lost 41% of Obama's black voters. 41% of blacks voting for Obama. 82% for Obama, only 41% for her. On Joe Biden, Kamala has lost 14% of African American vote from Joe Biden alone. She's literally 14 points below Biden with African Americans. You would think it would be the opposite. It is not. More voters saying they're Republicans than Democrats for the first time in 3 decades. That was from Gallup. 60% of Americans think the country is headed in the wrong direction. More Americans think Trump's last term benefited them than the Biden-Harris administration benefits them now. 50% of the voters think the GOP will make them more prosperous compared to only 44% of Democrats. 54% of voters think the GOP will keep the country safe from foreign threats compared to 40% for the Democrats. 55% of Americans favor less immigration, the majority of whom support Trump's plan for mass deportation of illegals. Harris is slightly less liked than Trump by registered voters. That was insane. I saw that today. She is literally has a lower, she's liked less than Trump is now in the likability rating, approval, disapproval, like, don't like. Harris, also more Americans now favoring Trump on handling Israel and Ukraine. Thank you. Very good. And also, Kamala sits down. All of a sudden, she agrees tomorrow to finally do an interview with Bret Baier on Fox News on his show in the afternoon. And it's going to be 30 minutes unedited. And it'll be great. We'll be talking about, we'll be playing highlights for you tomorrow. Joe Rogan, she might be sitting down with Joe Rogan. Now, I don't know if Rogan's going to have Trump on. I think that Trump also said that he will be on by November 5th, he believes that it looks like it's a go. I mean, honestly, Rogan can do what he wants, but I think he should have both of them on if he's going to do it. But Time Magazine, the liberal Democrat Kamala donor that owns Time Magazine, Mark Benioff, the owner of Time and a Harris donor, blasted her refusal by saying, despite multiple requests, Time Magazine has not been granted an interview with Kamala Harris, unlike every other presidential candidate. We believe in transparency and publish each interview in full. Why isn't the vice president engaging with the public on the same level? Says the Kamala donor and owner of Time Magazine. Trump did a whole interview with him. No problems. So there you have it. And then this from the Daily Mail today. A brand new Harvard-Harris poll show that Trump is gaining momentum with only 21 days to go. Trump is leading Harris with the battleground state early voters by 1 point. Polymarket, the betting odds, give Trump the best odds of winning 6 out of 7 of the swing states that will decide the result. Trump's the favorite to take victory in Arizona by 68% in the betting market, Georgia by 64%, Pennsylvania by 54%, Michigan by 52%, and North Carolina by 63%, and Wisconsin by 52%. In Nevada, Harris is up by at 51 points in this in the betting markets. Okay, now Trump is leading Kamala among early voters in battleground states. That's very, very bad. That was the Democrat game. Joe Biden erased Trump's margin with early voting and mail-in ballots. It was 1.44 million that he got in mail-in ballots. Trump got 1.33 million on election day, I believe it was. He wiped out the lead with mail-in ballots. Well, look at this, guys. Harvard-Harris poll shows Trump is leading Kamala in battleground state early voters. Trump, 48% are backing Trump, 47% for Harris. That's bad. It was like 2-1 previously, somewhere in that neighborhood. It spells trouble, the Daily Mail says, for Harris, since Democrat early voters have usually dominated early mail-in ballots. I told you. Something's up. It's bizarre, and it's not normal, and something is up. And, you know, look, we know the Democrats, they're not going to all of a sudden stop early voting and do in-person voting. Something's up. And I'm not saying Trump can't lose still, but I'm telling you right now, it keeps looking good and good. But we do have 3 weeks, and I have to personally remember that 3 weeks is an eternity in this business. But I like what my buddy Eric Erickson said yesterday. I shared with you. He says, literally, if she's going to do some major thing, it has to happen this week. And next week you can try it, but that's pretty much too late. But if you try some major thing now this week, you'll take next week to get it in, and maybe it'll have an effect. But if you don't do something serious by this week, as far as major stuff, you're not going to move the needle anymore. And listen to this. ABC News busted Kamala Harris. This is really sad and sad and angering. Okay, Trump rally. Did you know that there was a Trump rally yesterday? And it was in Pennsylvania, I believe, in suburban Philadelphia, I think. And it was indoor, and it was really hot. 2 people had medical emergencies. They passed out or something of that nature because of the heat, okay? Maybe they were standing long and it was hot. And Trump was in the middle of this town hall when it happened, the second one, and he's like, all right, he decided to just do a mini concert where they played music and he danced for 30, 40 minutes. And then Kamala attacked him saying, she made it all nasty. She said, the Kamala HQ social media account tweeted out, the rapid response team is what they are. They tweeted out suggesting there was something mentally wrong with Trump for the way he reacted. Harris then piled on, quoting that claim of her campaign, adding sarcastically, hope he's okay. Well, ABC News busted her. I want to throw out the phone number, too, by the way. Do you actually think Kamala's week is that week of a candidate? She has to spend all day prepping today for an interview that she did with a radio guy at 5 p.m., Charlemagne the God? Is she that weak? She did nothing today other than that, which is where people were saying, well, I thought you wanted to win this. Everything's tight. What are you doing? And do you think her campaign is sinking? Does she still have a chance to get back into the lead again, you think? And I think the more pressure on her, the more she'll fall apart. And I think you're going to see that. Do you feel like the more pressure that's on her, the more she'll fall apart? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Lines are wide open. Chime in right now. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I'm going to play for you ABC News busting her. They did a whole segment on this medical episode with these 2 people and how Trump reacted, and they clearly disproved this her and her team picking on Trump and his mental acuity when it was his reaction to 2 of his different fans in the audience passing out and having medical emergencies. He didn't want to keep acting like everything was normal, so he played music and had fun with the audience for 30, 40 minutes. Then he left. He's not going to pretend like everything's normal. It's like playing a baseball game when people are dropping like flies or something. Like, eventually, you're going to stop. You can say, "Okay, we're going to stop. There's something serious is happening here. We don't want people to get hurt. We don't want to, could pretend like nothing happened." So this is what he did. And so for that, Kamala and her headquarters mocked him and questioned his mental acuity by doing that. I'm going to play the audio for you from ABC News coming up next. They play it best. They handle it best, and they say it best because they're certainly not a fan of Orange Man. That's coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. By the way, more on the plagiarism. I have like 5 lengthy examples of Kamala Harris plagiarizing in her 2009 book that she wrote about being a prosecutor. And it's fun to see the media try to dismiss it. And we'll get to that, too. Coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Lines wide open. Chime in right now. Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Okay, so ABC News busts Kamala. She and her campaign were on Twitter mocking Trump and his mental acuity because he, after having two serious medical emergencies with people in his audience, he decided to scrap pretending like everything was normal at this event in Philadelphia yesterday, I believe in the Philly suburbs, and then instead played music and danced around and had fun. And so for that, Kamala attacked him and said, hope he's okay. And his media people or her attack team on Twitter also said, questioned his mental acuity. Well, ABC News took him to task on this.
Well, in certain quarters of social media, people had a field day with that, and I guess on the screens it might have looked quite strange. Inside that hall, however, people were having a good time. What can I tell you? It did not seem out of the ordinary. It seemed almost intimate, and at the end, Trump did something he very rarely does. He came down off the stage and mingled with his supporters. He was signing autographs and shaking hands and the like.
Okay, so that's ABC News' Terry Moran in his report. I cut certain pieces out of it up for you to play. So that was what Kamala and her campaign mocked Trump for. The rapid response team that is for Kamala HQ social media account suggested there was something mentally wrong with Trump for the way he reacted. And then Harris herself piled on, retweeting that and quoting the tweet and then sarcastically saying, I hope he's okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, it was he's fine. That's what he did. ABC News complimented on it, nothing negative. And two people dropped and had to go be taken to a hospital or whatever. I mean, so, and she questions his mental acuity. I question her political acuity. I mean, this shows she's like waiting for something bad to happen, right? But this wasn't it. So she looks stupid. Not the end of the world, but she looks stupid, doesn't she? I mean, even the fake news backed him up on that, which is pretty shocking. Meantime, by the way, our number is 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Lines wide open, chiming right now. Do you think Kamala is that weak of a candidate where, for example, today she literally only did one event? I mean, pundits were saying, she should be at 4 places in one day in swing states. Why is she only, she was cloistered away all day, and then she showed up for a Charlemagne the God interview, the radio guy, trying to drive up the black audience, but I don't think it's going to help. They just don't like her nearly as much as they did former President Hussein Obama, or nowhere near what they liked as Joe Biden. That's got to sting for her. Do you think her campaign is sinking? I sure do. Do you think she has a chance of getting back into the lead again? Anything's possible, but I do feel very confident. I could eat my words in 2 days, in 5 days, next week. But do you feel the more pressure that's on Kamala, the more she'll fall apart? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Here is the plagiarism on her first book that I think she wrote in 2009. Here's the words. Christopher Rufo, the journalist, got this, and he worked with a renowned what do they call plagiarism hunter from, I think, Britain or Australia. Anyways, in a section about a New York court program, Harris stole long passages directly from Wikipedia, long considered an unreliable source. She not only assumes the online encyclopedia's accuracy, but copies its language nearly verbatim without citing the source. And you have one page where it's Kamala Harris next to the Associated Press, and I would say about 80 to 90% of all the words in 2 paragraphs have been lifted out of the AP article. You have Kamala Harris and the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and she literally stole everything except for one word out of 2 paragraphs. Everything except one word she changed. Here she is with Kamala Harris in Wikipedia. She stole probably 95% of the words, and it's wild. And then also, this is on my Twitter feed. You got to jump back a few days when this first came out, I think yesterday or the day before. Then you have her stealing from the Bureau of Justice assistants And that literally is probably 85 to 95% lifted of, looks like 2 or 3 paragraphs. And then you've got Kamala Harris and stealing from the Urban Institute. Same thing, you got about 2 to 3 paragraphs, and she lifted between 85 and 95%. So that was her one book, the first book she came out with. And it was tons of lifted, unquoted, stuff that she stole and didn't give them the credit. So it's funny to see the New York Times is trying to cover, saying it was just a few sentences and stuff like that. And then you can compare it to Melania's book, where she lifted a couple lines, like 2 or 3 or 4 lines, and they said she was plagiarizing. But Kamala, no, it's like 10 paragraphs or 15 paragraphs throughout the book. No, that's Melania's worse. Okay. The media, according to Axios today, the trust in the media hits another historic low. This is happening as you see our media telling us that the Aurora apartment takeovers by the Venezuelan violent gang Trinidad Agua isn't really a big deal at all. As we have other stories, too. We got CBS accused of deceptively editing interviews yet again on Speaker Johnson, as he says he was selectively trimmed, and you can see he's got his version with unedited and theirs, and the good stuff is edited out. So I want to ask you about that. Do you trust our media? And what news outlets do you get your news from? Who do you trust and who don't you trust? That's coming up next at 10:33 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. And boy, is it rigged. Look at this. You have ex-CBS News reporter Catherine Herridge, who is awesome. She says there's precedent for releasing the full interview transcript when it came to Donald Trump, and she interviewed him when she was with CBS News. But yet the Kamala interview was 60 Minutes. They refuse to give us the transcripts, so to share the transcripts with everybody, because they literally cut out the worst parts of her stuff. They gave a lot of jump cuts, a lot of jump edits, and they literally had in their promo previewing the interview, they had her word salad in there. And then about Israel, she gave a word salad. It made no sense. That was the preview that they played. And then when the interview was aired, they literally cut the word salad out and sounded like a sharp, quick answer, as if she was definitive and strong. Amazing, isn't it? Hidden. So they're not providing the transcript for that. They don't want you to see her mumbling and stumbling and falling all over herself and embarrassing herself. In the meantime, the plagiarism story with Kamala Harris, which we talked about a little earlier, a New York Times expert who cleared Kamala Harris of plagiarism admits he did not do a full analysis. The far-left New York Times disgraced itself. Breitbart's Nolte writes, by clearing the sitting Vice President Kamala Harris of obvious blatant plagiarism. Now the expert used by the Times that exonerated Harris says he did not do a full analysis. Christopher Rufo dropped the bombshell that we talked about earlier. Harris plagiarized at least a dozen sections of her criminal justice book, Smart on Crime, from 2009. Second of all, when they called the co-author, Joan O.C. Hamilton, they called her. She said, this is news to me. I'll have to look at that before I respond to you. And she got off the phone. She wouldn't answer that. So Dr. Stefan Weber, an internationally famous plagiarism hunter, helped find these examples, one jaw-dropping example after another of Harris directly copying and pasting the paragraph after paragraph into her book that were written by others without attribution or quotation marks. It's plagiarism, obviously. This is Breitbart, and that's exactly right. Per Rufo, Harris copied virtually an entire Wikipedia article into her book without providing attribution to Wikipedia. She fabricated a source reference and invented a non-existent page number. So I got it from this page. It doesn't exist. Wow, huh? So, within a few hours, New York Times covered conservative activist seizes on passages from Harris' book. The Times article lied to its readers to protect Kamala, saying it really wasn't that big deal. There wasn't much. They used a plagiarism consultant in New Orleans and the publisher of Plagiarism Today. But he said he didn't see it, but that's because he didn't do a full look into it. He just checked a few little things. So they said he didn't look, and why? What does it matter? The New York Times lied for her. Everything's fine. Move on. Meantime, Speaker Johnson, Speaker of the House, Republican Speaker Johnson from Louisiana, he accuses CBS of selectively editing his interview on the heels of Harris's 60 Minutes controversy, Kamala Harris's. So he was on Face the Nation. He gave some really good answers. And he literally had a camera, probably a cell phone, something. He had a camera recording him in the studio he was sitting in, okay? So you had his full answer. So he has, and this is on my Twitter feed from yesterday. This was provided by him. On the left, you have the 60 Minutes, the CBS Face the Nation interview with him. And it's half of his answers are edited out. And then they pause it where he stops, and they go to his version of it, showing he continues to go, and he gives very good answers. They cut out the very good answers. He said that he will never do another interview with CBS News that's not live. Never again will he do another interview at the Speaker of the House, because they chopped it up so badly and took out all of his answers that were important and solid. So there you go. So I ask you with this question in mind. With this study in mind, this is from Axios today. Media trust hits another historic low, according to a new Gallup survey. Only 31% of Americans say they have a great deal or a fair amount of trust in the mass media, down from 32% last year, tying the record low set in 2016. At the same time, percentage of Americans who say they've not very much trust in the media has risen from 27 to 33% in 4 years. Prior to 2004, more than half the American population consistently said they trusted the media. Isn't that sad? Before 2004, half of Americans said they trusted the media. I would have been one of those ones that trusted the media. They've made a parody of themselves nowadays. It's very sad, and it's very disgusting, and it's very scary. It is very scary. All they're doing is just trying to get Democrats elected. It is so nakedly true. So I want to ask you two questions on this. Do you trust our media? And what news outlets do you get your news from? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you trust our media, and what news outlets do you get your news from? 800-288-WBAP. Lines wide open, chime in right now. I don't trust our media. I typically tend to trust Fox News. I typically tend to trust, I'll trust Newsmax, I'll trust Fox Business, I'll trust, and it's interesting because even fake news CNN and some of the mainstream ones can be right. ABC's Terry Moran talking about the people at the Trump rally yesterday that had medical episodes, debunking Kamala's myth that he had a problem with himself. So they're right sometimes, but most of the time they have an agenda. So do you trust our media, and what news outlets do you get your news from? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. You know, for me, the Wall Street Journal is fantastic, but their reporters are liberal, just like any regular reporter is. But their editorials are really, really, really done very, very well. It's the only paper I pay money to and subscribe to. I mean, you'll see a New York Times article or something, or a CNN article that will be good, but it's very infrequent. So for me, it's Fox News. It's a Twitter. But I don't trust people that I don't know and that, you know, aren't people that have a reputation, that actually aren't with news outlets. And really, if it's backed up with facts, then that's what I would trust. But sadly, most of what we see cannot be trusted at all. And it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. Trusted media reached a record low this year, 27% among independents, a near record low of 54% among Democrats. over the past 2 years, trusted media has hit a record low of 26% among ages 18 through 29. So I am not surprised, and I bet you aren't either. That's why Elon Musk talking about how he bought Twitter, and he did it because it's the future of our nation, and it's saving freedom of speech and saving our nation is very, very true. Because before he bought it, they stopped the Hunter Biden laptop, they censored it, they downgraded us, they banned us if we said anything that was true about the COVID vaccine or about COVID-19, all this crazy stuff, Orwellian stuff. And so, yeah, we're there. We are there. Now, coming up next, I want to have a little fun with this one. Actually, it's a lesson. So many people they break their arms patting themselves on the back because they give money to a cause and they don't even really know what's going on. That's a fool. I always urge you, do not give money to somebody you don't know unless you want to be a fool. Do not give money to somebody panhandling on the side of the road because they're going to smoke it up or drink it up or something of that nature. And if you want to give them food, give them food. You want to pray for them. But I wouldn't give any of them money because most likely it's for drugs and alcohol. And so that's where we find a guy called Lieutenant Dan. Some fool from a college in Florida noticed this guy in a dinghy boat or whatever it is that it looks just like Lieutenant Dan's boat from Forrest Gump. And the guy slept the night in the boat. He lives on the boat, and he made it through Hurricane Milton in the dinghy or whatever it is. And so this guy said, "Oh, look, Lieutenant Dan's okay." He made it in like the Daily Mail and some other coverage. And so he's like, "Let's do a fundraiser for him." Worst thing you could have ever decided for this guy. Wait till you hear what this guy's daughter says. Wait till you hear how bad this guy's rap sheet is. And we'll talk about why do you think people give so much while knowing so little? And are donors suckers or fools or something else? People who give money to causes like this without knowing who it is, and they break out their arm, patting themselves on the back, how awesome they are. And they just throw money at the problem, throw money at somebody and think, look at how awesome. I feel so good. Look at me. I helped Lieutenant Dan. You don't want to be giving money to Lieutenant Dan. You'll find out why coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. I can't wait to share you his nice lengthy record and what his daughter says about you giving him money. That's next on WBAP. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Okay. Apparently, lots of people know who Lieutenant Dan is. He's this guy who rode out the storm in his Lieutenant Dan-style boat, Hurricane Milton. And this poor fool, this clown who wants to feel good about himself, a young, naive college student, 23-year-old student named Terrace shared a TikTok video. I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name. Concannon. Shared TikTok videos of Hurricane Helene survival. And so he set up a fundraiser for this Lieutenant Dan guy. It now stands at over $40,000. Streamer Aiden Ross agreed to buy him, Dan, quote unquote, whose real name is Joseph Malinowski, a new boat and offered a potentially lucrative chance to live stream his day-to-day life on a platform called Live Kick. As his internet fame soared, his convictions for assault and petty crimes surfaced, along with his multiple mugshots through the years. The college kid says he was unaware of his past, the guy's past, when he offered to help. He doesn't regret it either. No regrets. No. He never mentioned anything about it. Let's say he was a child rapist or a female serial women abuser. I had no idea about the past. I'm not the one to judge. Yes! If he beats the hell out of you and robs you blind, you're not the one to judge. If he does it to your daughter, you're not the one to judge. We do not judge people's hearts, but we judge their actions. And this kid is a fool. Let's see here. Continuing on. I would walk by him often. Then one day, the motorboat went out and he was getting sucked under a bridge, so he yelled out. I threw a rope. I pulled him in, blah, 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 blah. But Malinowski, Lieutenant Dan, has over 70 contacts with police in Florida and North Carolina since 2012, according to public records seen by the Daily Mail. Also involved in several lawsuits in New Jersey. Better watch out if you want to help the guy. He's probably going to sue you. Drug possession, assault, resisting police, battery, among others. Aiden Ross, the influencer, apparently decided to rescind his offer of a new boat after discovering the history. Oh, there you go. Now you're the idiot, right? He came to me. I never asked for it, said Malinowski in a TikTok after the rescinded offer. He starts singing about my history. He should have done his due diligence, says the bum, Lieutenant Dan. I didn't ask you for it. You offered it. I agreed. I asked you to be on this live stream feed 100 hours a month. No problem. I'm down with that. Anyways, he served 6 months in jail recently in prison for punching a police officer in the nose. This is a great guy. Who am I to judge? And last year, running with police for sinking another sailboat in Florida's East Coast. As reported by the Orlando Sentinel, he's sinking ships and punching cops on the nose, and stupid fools are giving him money. I went to prison. I did jail time, but I can tell you I'm innocent of all the charges, he says. His daughter comes out now. By the way, here's my questions for you on this. Why do you think people give so much while knowing so little? Why are donors suckers or fools? Or are these donors suckers or fools or something else? I think they love to pat themselves on the back and say how awesome they are and feel so good. They do almost nothing. They throw a few bucks online, some guys away, and they feel so good about themselves. I am so awesome. I gave $5 to that bum. Look at me. I gave $20. I gave $50. The hard part is to serve people and get to know them and give them your time. The easy part is this crap, and you're a fool if you give it to somebody like this. Well, here you go. You're giving the guy bail money for his next offense of punching a cop out or sinking a ship or doing God knows what. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Why do you think people give so much while knowing so little? Are these donors suckers or fools or something else to you? To me, they're suckers and they're fools at the same time. They're prideful suckers and fools, patting themselves on the back. I know because I was one of them back in the day. I'd donate money to something. Oh, I'm so awesome. No, that's not how it works. That's not how you're supposed to do it. The left hand's not supposed to know what the right hand is giving you, and you give out of joyfulness, not out of obligation or out of patting yourself on the back. Lieutenant Dan's daughter comes out now, and she is warning that this is going to kill her dad. She has slammed his new fans, saying this in his viral fame will lead him to an early grave. He had his first taste of fame when this University of Tampa student I told you about. He raised, now it's $46,000, more than $46,000. Posting on her account, his daughter, Ashley Ann, tearfully said her father would probably end up dead because of all the attention. Lieutenant Dan was doing fine with all of that money, she said. Y'all TikTok famous people blowing him up. He's going to be dead before he can even enjoy that boat. He has over 70 contacts with police. I told you about that. Y'all are going to effing put him in the grave for making him famous and giving him his money and offering him this S word. Now the move of the funds stand at $40,000. It says, y'all don't even know what the F you're doing. You don't know that man. You don't know him at all. She says about her dad. Tears in her eyes. She then accused these influencers of not caring about her father's welfare, not truly caring. Nobody actually effing cares for him either. Nobody actually cares. Y'all are just using him to make him famous, to make yourselves more famous, to make yourselves look good. That's exactly right. It's all about them. Whether it's a donator or somebody on the influence, it's all about you. That's what's behind this selfishness and pride. As a daughter of an addict, which would be him, I feel this, and I'm so sorry, wrote one user. The pain in your voice breaks my heart, says another. This week, Lieutenant Dan launched his own TikTok account, and he now has 270,000 followers. Okay, my man, my friends, don't give. Know what it is. I give to my church, and then I give above and beyond that after that. So 10%. That's before your taxes are taken out.